Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the world of coins, collectibles, and they're the 2016 Australian 50 cents coin, bearing the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, represents a convergence of modern numismatics, Commonwealth, heritage, and Australia's evolving national identity. Minted by the Royal Australian Mint, this coin features a distinctive dodecagonal 12-sided shape, a feature that has characterized Australia's 50-cent coins since 1969, making it one of the most recognizable coins in the Commonwealth. On the obverse, the coin proudly displays the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Ian Rank Broadley initials IRB, whose effigy was widely used on British and Commonwealth coinage during this period. Surrounding her likeness are the inscriptions Elizabeth II and Australia 2016, indicating both the sovereign's title and the year of minting. The reverse side, by contrast, showcases the Australian coat of arms, a majestic and symbolic display featuring the emu and the kangaroo, animals native to Australia that also metaphorically represent progress and national pride. Between them sits a shield divided into 6 parts, each bearing the badge of an Australian state. Well above the shield rests the 7-pointed Commonwealth star. The inscription 50 cents anchors the design beneath. This coin, while circulating as legal tender, also represents a powerful intersection of European Enlightenment values and post-colonial Australian independence, an ideal symbolized by the philosophical motto Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité, the famous national slogan of France that also resonates with the values of democratic nations like Australia. Although not physically inscribed on the coin, this trinity of liberty, equality, and fraternity echoes symbolically through Australia's liberal constitution, multicultural society, and participatory democratic systems. The inclusion of the term republic, though an allusion to French ideals, invites contemplation of Australia's own republican movement, which gained momentum in the late 20th and early 21st centuries with growing discussions about replacing the monarchy with a homegrown head of state. The imagined presence of Lagraffoul, likely an allusion to Joaquin Jiménez Lagraffoul, the famous French engraver, symbolically bridges the artistry of European coin design with Australian minting traditions, even though he did not design this coin. The reference serves as a poetic homage to the international language of numismatic art. The year 2016, in particular, marked a time of continued economic growth in Australia and expanding multiculturalism, with coinage serving not just as currency, but as an artifact of collective memory and national storytelling. This 50-cent piece, composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, with a mass of 15.55 grams and a diameter of 31.65 millimeters, is both resilient and timeless. Collectors value it for its durability, iconic design, and the rich symbolism embedded in every line and relief. While its face value remains at $50, its true worth lies in its cultural significance, historical continuity, and the way it carries Australia's identity through time, an identity built on Indigenous heritage, colonial past, and modern democratic values. Though it is a product of a monarchy-based constitutional system, the values inscribed in the hearts of Australians mirror the Republic's spirit of freedom, equality, and fraternity, not unlike the emblematic aspirations found in other Western democracies. In a world increasingly interconnected by trade, migration, and global philosophy, this humble coin tells a story far beyond its monetary value. It is a metallic capsule of ideals, traditions, and evolving sovereignty. The next step top to the 2006 Australia 50 cents coin, while officially minted by the Royal Australian Mint and featuring Queen Elizabeth II, presents a fascinating case when viewed through the lens of international numismatics, symbolic language, and global political heritage. The obverse of the coin bears the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, the longest-reigning monarch in British and Commonwealth history at the time, and it is a design crafted by Ian Rank Broadley, whose initials, IRB, are usually found beneath the portrait. This side of the coin maintains continuity with Australia's constitutional monarchy, representing national unity under the Crown, and affirming Queen Elizabeth II's position as head of state. The reverse side of the standard Australian 50 -1 coin features the Australian coat of arms, which consists of a shield depicting the badges of the 6 Australian states supported by a kangaroo and an emu, to creatures symbolic of forward progress as they cannot move backward easily. The coin is dodecagonal 12-sided and made of cupronickel, measuring 31.65 millimeters in diameter and weighing 15.55 grams, making it one of the largest Australian coins in circulation in both weight and size. However, your query introduces intriguing French revolutionary ideals, liberté, égalité, fraternité, and names such as Republic, IP, and La Grafoule, which suggest either a cross-cultural interpretation, a commemorative variant, or a symbolic juxtaposition with French numismatic themes. The phrase liberté, égalité, fraternité, meaning liberty, equality, fraternity, is the national motto of France and traces its roots back to the French Revolution. Its inclusion on coins is a defining characteristic of French currency, particularly modern euros and earlier francs. It emphasizes the core values of the Republic, symbolizing the collective freedom of citizens, equality before the law, and unity as a social bond. Similarly, Republic signals a commitment to republican governance as opposed to monarchy, which makes it a symbolic contrast to Queen Elizabeth II's presence on the coin unless it is referencing a different issue altogether. The reference to IP is more ambiguous. It could point to various possibilities: a mint mark, an artist's or engraver's initial, or an institutional designation such as the Institut Pédagogique Européen or Institut du Patrimoine Européen, though no official Australian coin series in 2006 is recorded with that marking. This might also suggest a private medallion, collector's edition, or token coin not officially released by the Royal Australian Mint. Similarly, La Grafoule is likely referencing Jean-Paul La Grafoule, a renowned French medalist and sculptor, known for designing several French euro coins and commemorative medals. If his name appears on the item, the coin may not be Australian legal tender, but rather a French commemorative or fantasy issue, a hybrid creation inspired by international coin designs, or a medal struck for collectors. Given these markers, one plausible scenario is that this object is a fantasy or commemorative coin created to bridge or juxtapose the values of constitutional monarchy Elizabeth II and Republican liberty French national motto. These kinds of coins are often produced by private mints and are popular among collectors who admire historical allegory, international unity, or ideological symbolism. They may feature Queen Elizabeth II to invoke the global influence of the Commonwealth, while also presenting French revolutionary ideals to promote a broader message of democracy and human rights. If the coin indeed carries La Grafoule as designer, this furthers the theory of a privately issued, possibly European minted collector's piece, using Elizabeth II's image with artistic license. In terms of value, if the coin is a standard 2006 Australian 50-cent piece, its numismatic worth is relatively modest, often ranging from face value up to $3 depending on condition. The 2006 issue had tens of millions of coins struck for circulation and includes no rare mint errors or limited editions, making it common in circulation. However, if the coin in question is a medallic issue or private mint fantasy coin, its value would depend heavily on rarity, composition, silver, nickel, etc., and collector demand. Collectors often seek out unique cross-cultural items for display or thematic collections focusing on monarchies, revolutions, or international values. In conclusion, while the 2006 Australian 50-cent coin itself is a product of the Royal Australian Mint featuring Queen Elizabeth II and Australia's national symbols, the references to liberty, equality, fraternity, IP, republic, and La Grafoule point toward a complex, possibly unofficial or commemorative item that blends French Republican ideals with British Australian monarchical imagery. This fusion of motifs illustrates how coins and medals can serve as more than mere currency. They become vehicles of political thought, cultural dialogue, and historical storytelling. Such artifacts remind us that even small metal discs can carry the weight of centuries of ideology, conflict, identity, and artistic expression. Whether this coin is a typical Australian circulating piece or a numismatic curiosity from a private mint, it invites us to explore the fascinating interplay between tradition and transformation in modern global history. The next up, top 3, the 2015 Australian 50-cent coin featuring inscriptions such as Liberty, Eagle-Eye, Fraternity, IP, Republic, and attributed to Lagerfeuille presents a highly unusual and fascinating numismatic artifact. This coin appears to be a fantasy or novelty piece rather than an officially minted circulation coin by the Royal Australian Mint. The genuine 2015 Australian 50-cent coin typically features the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, designed by Ian Rank Broadley, and possibly a commemorative reverse design. Though most standard issues retain the Australian coat of arms, however, the inclusion of French Revolutionary motto Liberté, Eagle-Eye, Fraternity, French Republican symbols, and the signature or design style of artist Lagerfeuille, which may reference Claude Andriotto or other French engravers, though Lagerfeuille is more commonly associated with French coins, suggests this item could be a medal, replica, or commemorative token manufactured outside traditional mints. From a design and symbolic perspective, this coin is a melting pot of international iconography. The motto Liberty, Equality, Fraternity has its roots in the French Revolution and symbolizes democratic ideals. Its presence on a piece that visually links to Australia and Queen Elizabeth II suggests an intentional juxtaposition of monarchy with republican ideals, potentially produced for collectors, educational purposes, or political commentary. The reverse may feature stylized allegorical figures, republican symbolism such as Marianne, or abstract representations of justice and liberty, and artistic flourishes tied to modern French medallic art. The name Lagerfeuille may be a tribute or imitation, as there are known modern medallists and engravers in France using that name. In terms of legal tender status, such a coin does not match the specifications of official Australian coinage and therefore lacks circulation value. However, collectible value may exist depending on the rarity, craftsmanship, demand among thematic collectors, for example, those interested in fantasy coins, liberty symbols, or Franco-Australian crossover pieces, and whether the coin is made of base metal or precious metal. The edge of the coin, material composition, diameter typically 31.51 millimeters for Australian 50C coins, and weight about 15.55 grams would all be clues to its authenticity and category. If it is a silver or gold strike, its bullion value may add to collector interest. Further investigation of the origin, whether minted by a private mint like the Monnaie de Paris or a commercial replica manufacturer, would clarify whether this is part of a known set or a one-off artistic issue. Coins like these are sometimes sold at numismatic conventions or online platforms like eBay or Etsy, and their value varies significantly based on bearer interest and perception of rarity. The year 2015 does not coincide with any official release of such a hybrid design by Australian authorities, making it highly likely to be an unofficial production. In conclusion, the 2015 Liberty, Eagle-Eye, Fraternity 50-cent piece attributed to Australia and signed Lagerfeuille represents a unique and possibly artistic or fantasy coin that blends royal iconography with republican ideology, merging symbolic elements of two different national traditions: Australia's monarchy under Queen Elizabeth II and France's revolutionary heritage. While not a legal tender currency coin, its value may lie in its artistic expression, collectible interest, and its curious place in the world of exonumia and symbolic numismatics. The next up, top for the 2018 Australian 50-cent coin, while an officially minted piece of modern Australian currency, becomes intriguingly symbolic and richly multilayered when viewed through a lens of global philosophical values, artistic design, and the fictional framing you've introduced. The obverse of the coin continues to bear the elegant and commanding portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, as sculpted by Ian Rank Broadley, which has adorned Australian coins since 1998. Her profile, facing right and wearing the royal diadem, is encircled by inscriptions including Elizabeth II and Australia 2018, affirming both the sovereignty of the British monarch in Australia's constitutional framework and the minting year. However, when one adds the imaginative layer of liberty, egalite, fraternit, the revolutionary French motto translating to liberty, equality, brotherhood, the coin takes on a transnational aura, connecting Commonwealth monarchy with Enlightenment ideals that fueled the French Revolution. This juxtaposition of monarchical image and republican ideals raises philosophical questions about governance, freedom, and national identity. The reverse of the 2018 coin remains unchanged from the design introduced in 1966 by Stuart Devlin, the master goldsmith and official jeweler to the Queen. It features the Australian coat of arms, which includes the kangaroo and the emu, native creatures that famously do not walk backwards, symbolizing a nation always moving forward. The shield between them holds the badges of the 6 states, symbolizing unity in diversity. The coin is dodecagonal 12-sided and composed of cupronickel 75% copper, 25% nickel, with a diameter of 31.51 millimeters and weighing 15.55 grams, making it one of the largest circulating coins in the world by size. Now, the inclusion of names such as IP and Republic and Lagerfeuille, though not part of the coin's official iconography, suggest an imaginative recontextualization that blends elements of French numismatics or artistry. For instance, Philippe Lagerfeuille is a well-known French artist and designer of euro coins, and imagining his stylistic influence on an Australian coin creates a bridge between continents and ideologies, enriching the narrative. IP might be interpreted as an acronym, perhaps Institut de Production Économique in a fictional realm, or it might simply serve to suggest institutional heritage or legitimacy in a stylized republic. This imagined scenario paints the 2018 coin not merely as a monetary tool, but as a canvas of global ideals, emblematic creatures, state unity, and the nuanced tension between monarchy and egalitarianism. In such a reading, the coin becomes more than currency, it becomes a historical allegory in metal, a compact symbol of tradition and transformation. Whether handled by a child learning to count, collected by a numismatist marveling at its form, or examined by a historian contemplating its geopolitical meaning, the 2018 Australian 50-cent piece invites us into a meditation on the complex relationships between power, people, and purpose. Its physical structure durable, bright, and finely edged mirrors the endurance of national identity and the ever-shifting landscape of civic values. And within its fictional adornments, one can imagine a future where coins no longer separate nations, but unite them under shared values inscribed in metal: liberty without oppression, equality without exclusion, and fraternity without condition. In this way, even the most localized currency becomes a global story etched in copper and nickel, bound by history, enriched by imagination. The next up, top 5, the 2014 Australian 50 cents coin inscribed with liberty, egalite, fraternit, Elizabeth II, and references to IPE, Republic. And Lagerfeuille presents a fascinating amalgamation of symbolism that crosses national, ideological, and artistic boundaries. While this coin appears at first glance to be Australian given the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, the denomination 50 cents, and the issuing year, it also contains French Republican mottos and artistic signatures not typically found on circulating Australian coinage. This unusual blend points to a piece that is either commemorative, medallion-like, or perhaps symbolic in its production, possibly intended as a cultural or educational artifact rather than standard legal tender. Let's begin by unpacking each element and how it connects to history, coinage, and international motifs. Obverse analysis. Queen Elizabeth II and the Australian connection. The obverse front of this 2014 50 cents coin likely features the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, which is standard for all Australian coinage since 1953. In 2014, the portrait used would most probably be the Ian Rank Broadley effigy, which has been common on Australian coins from 1999 onward. This design depicts the Queen facing right, wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a gift from Queen Mary, Around the portrait is the inscription Elizabeth to Australia to 014. This aligns with official Australian coin. Minting styles and traditions. As Australia is a constitutional monarchy with the British monarch serving as head of state. However, what makes this coin intriguing is not just this familiar face, but the fusion of French revolutionary ideals and symbolism that appears alongside her. Reverse design, liberté, égalité, fraternité, and the French influences. Reverse of the coin includes the phrase liberté, égalité, fraternité, the famous national motto of France meaning liberty, equality, brotherhood. Originating during the French Revolution 1789 to 1799, this slogan has become one of the most enduring expressions of democratic ideals in Western political philosophy. It emphasizes the collective rights of citizens within a republic and continues to be inscribed on many French coins, buildings, and official documents. The presence of this phrase on an Australian 50-cent coin suggests that this is not a regular circulation coin, but rather a commemorative or collaborative piece, possibly minted in recognition of Franco-Australian relations, international exhibitions, or as part of an artistic and educational series exploring Republican values, IPA Republic. And La Graffoul, artistic and institutional references 1. IPIP likely refers to an educational or governmental institution, such as Institut pour l'Education, or possibly a minting or printing establishment. In numismatic contexts, IPE may also appear as part of symbolic identifiers, particularly in pieces made for didactic or commemorative purposes rather than monetary use. 2. Republic with term republic is French for republic, which ties in strongly with the motto Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité. It may refer specifically to La République Française, which has had a deep influence on global democratic movements, particularly in articulating ideas of secular governance, universal rights, and citizenship. In this context, the word republic being on the coin may imply that the piece was either inspired by French republican ideals or part of a joint artistic, commemorative initiative involving Australia and France. 3. La Graffoul name La Graffoul is likely a reference to Gerard La Graffoul, a French artist or medalist known for creating artistic renderings and sculptures for coins, medals, and public art. La Graffoul's work often emphasizes human dignity, justice, and republican values, aligning perfectly with the ideals inscribed on the coin. If he indeed designed the reverse or participated in the artistic conception of this coin, that would explain the presence of French themes on an Australian piece. La Graffoul's association also enhances the possibility that this coin is a collector's piece, possibly minted under a special series of cultural diplomacy or philosophical reflection. Material and physical description. If we base its format on traditional Australian 50-cent coins, it likely is shape, dodecagonal 12-sided metal composition, copper nickel 75% copper, 25% nickel diameter, 31.65 weight, 15.55 gram silver. Given the specialized inscription and probable commemorative nature, it could also be part of a metallic issue, perhaps minted in silver, bronze, or plated zinc, especially if not intended for legal tender. Historical and ideological significance of co-presence of monarchy via Queen Elizabeth II and republicanism via the French motto and republic raises fascinating questions about duality in governance, identity, and heritage. Australia, while a democracy, remains a monarchy in structure, whereas France is a republic. This coin, then, becomes a symbolic crossroads where monarchical history meets republican aspiration, and where tradition intersects with revolutionary ideals. This may represent an ideological exploration and numismatic meditation on values, how liberty and equality coexist under monarchy, how fraternity can be universal, and how different nations interpret and preserve their heritage. Such themes are often explored through public exhibitions, commemorative series, or UNESCO-supported cultural initiatives, and the coin may have been produced in that spirit. Cultural and collectors' value. For collectors, such a coin has immense numismatic interest not because of rarity in standard circulation, but because of its unique design, symbolism, and international collaboration. It can serve as a conversation piece about Republican and monarchical coexistence artifact for institutions teaching political philosophy or global history artistic collectibles showcasing the work of Lagerfeld and Franco-Australian cultural exchange depending on the mintage and official backing. Its value could range from a few dollars if widely available or unofficially minted to several $100s if limited edition, precious metal, or artist-signed. Conclusion: a coin beyond currency. This 2014 Australian 50-cent coin inscribed with Liberté, Egalite, Fraternité, Republic, and Lagerfeld transcends its physical form. It is not merely a medium of exchange, but a symbolic dialogue between monarchic heritage and republican values. Between Australia's colonial legacy and the Enlightenment ideals of France, it celebrates the artistry of designers like Lagerfeld, the resilience of philosophical mottos born in revolution, and the unifying potential of coins as historical and ideological messengers. Whether intended for circulation, education, or commemoration, it reminds us that even in metal and mint, the stories of liberty, equality, and fraternity endure, crossing borders, spanning centuries, and linking cultures with a quiet resonance that only the thoughtful observer will hear.